function, but now there's just no function. They're just there. But that's useful for us because if we happen to find a skeleton, if there's epipubic bones on there, we instantly know that it's a possum. It's a marsupial. Dental formula. This is how we ID the diversity in teeth, as we count teeth. Right? It's reported for only one side of the jaw. So if you take your jaw, you put your hand right there, dental formula is only recorded for one side. Right? So right there on that side. Right? And it's reported for upper and lower jaw. For marsupials, they have 5 incisors on one side of their jaw on the top and 4 incisors on the bottom. For canines, 1 and 1, that's the same thing as us. For premolars, 3 and 3. For molars, it's 4 and 4. And that's the average. For eutherians, it's 3 and 3 incisors. 1 and 1 canine, 4 and 4 premolars, and 3 and 3 molars. The biggest difference there is the number of incisors. Possums have tons. Incisor, 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 canines. Right? So if you see a skull of just laying around the ground, and it's got a ton of incisors, to where it looks like if you were nipped by it, it wouldn't feel good. That is a possum. Tons of incisors compared to a kitty cat or a raccoon or something like that. Yeah, I'll pass it around. Here, we'll start over here. Just be very careful. I can get one of those again so you guys can check it out. Also, they're just dumb. Now, they're dumb. I'm not going to say that they don't have intelligence. They have their own intelligence. But what I will say is they have reduced cranial capacity. I know. But if you look at the skull over there, you're going to see that that cranium at the top of the skull is indented. And you compare that to a similar size eutherian. This is a little bit bigger. But the cranium, the cranial capacity where the brain would be, is much bigger. Right? So if it looks like if it nips you, it's going to hurt, or if it looks like it's dumb, it's probably a possum. Okay. Dentition. We talked about this a little bit. We all know essentially what a tooth is. I'm not going to go into dental school with you. Variation molars, we talked about that as well. But it is important to point out right now that even within therians, there's differences in dentition. Right? We all have those 4 cusped molars, but in different critters, they can look different. Right? The ancestral trait is this tribosphenic molar, like that. This is a little bit different. We find those in our opossums. Most individuals or most mammalian species that still have tribosphenic molars, because there are some, are insectivores. What's that mean? Eats insects, right? And the tribosphenic molars are really good for eating insects because all they have to do is just nom, 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 and they're breaking into the chitinous shell, and they're shearing off legs and things like that as they do a single bite. It's really effective for eating insects. So things like shrews will have tribosphenic molars still. Omnivores, so eats multiple different things, they tend to have something called bunodont dentition, which means their molars are rounded, like this. So they're very flat and rounded, like semicircles. And this is an example right here. This is a piggy. And if you run your finger over this, it's very flat. It's not nearly as sharp as the deer that I'll pass around later. Right? Also, piggies have very big canines that will cut you, right? So if you ever come across a pig, a wild pig, or a previously domesticated, now wild pig, don't go near it because they can be very vicious. Right, so check out those bunodont dentition. We have bunodont molars, and I have a baboon skull in my lab that has just really good bunodont dentition. They can also be brachydont. So you can have, or a molar can be both bunodont and brachydont. Brachydont means low-crowned, right? That means there's not much molar extending out of the gums. Okay? That's usually what omnivores have. This includes pigs, which is what I'm passing around, humans, raccoons. I didn't bring a raccoon skull. Over there? No. They all have these bunodont and brachydont molars. Herbivores are different. Herbivores can have lophodont and solenodont dentition. And these are where the cusps, so the bumps, the points on your molar, in herbivores, they fuse to form ridges, right? And it can kind of come in different styles, right? This is a solenodont, and this is what deer have. They fuse, and they form these half-moon shapes. And I'll pass this around, but you can certainly see the half-moon shapes. And that's essentially there's two cusps now. It's because there used to be 4 cusps, but they fused into 2, making those ridges. Okay, I'll pass around my deer skull, or jaw. And these guys will have hypsodont. So instead of brachydont, which is low crown, they'll have hypsodont, which is high crowned molars. So much more of the tooth extends out of the gums.
And that's where you can see on the teeth there sort of it gets round.
Yeah.
That's how low the gum line is.
Yep. Does that make sense? So you can lophodont is what some rodents will have. This is lophodont right here. It doesn't make any sensible shape. It's just a whole bunch of ridges. Why would we want ridges as an herbivore? Why would we want not 4 cusps, 4 points? Instead, fuse them to make ridges. Yeah, it's easier to grind, right? So if you think about these lophodont dentitions, they're very flat with some ridges in it, so they can just, and that grinds up all of the vegetation into a fine paste very quickly. Right? So these ridges are much better at eating or consuming vegetation than the bunodont or the other types of molars.
That's why we can't eat popcorn very well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you look at the deer, if a popcorn kernel gets stuck in one of those loaves, that would be horrible. Yeah.
But that deer thing was hypsodont.
Yep, that's a hypsodont dentition.
So herbivores can have either one or the other?
Well, so the herbivores have a single molar is going to be solenodont or lophodont and hypsodont. Solenodont just means there's ridges, and hypsodont just means there's more of it extending from the gums. Okay? Now, we also have something called diphyodont teeth, or milk teeth. What are milk teeth? Baby teeth. That's actual baby teeth. That's the inside of a kid's jaw. These are the baby teeth. These are the adult teeth growing inside of the jaw, inside of the bone. And as they grow, they extend up and they push out the baby teeth. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good. Diphyodont, di means 2. Only 2 sets of teeth. Compared to a shark, which has thousands, they can keep regrowing teeth. We only have 2 sets. There are some mammals that can have more, like a manatee can actually produce so many teeth, it's almost essentially a shark jaw. Why is my kid losing a tooth right now as we, probably not right now, but slowly losing her teeth? Why? Why do I have to pay her to lose teeth? I don't know about that one. What do you think? Yeah, so we were quickly and mostly omnivores, right? And most mammals started off as carnivores, actually. So the first mammals to exist were mostly insectivores. But then as we got newer and different teeth, we started becoming omnivores and then herbivores, right? So there was a big chunk in which all of the mammals were omnivorous, okay? So why would that mean? Milk teeth. What is the benefit of milk teeth? You all talked for like 5 minutes, so you all have the exact answers. Okay, for chewing and speaking. Okay, so saving space. Saving space can be a big thing. So babies, I have a 9-month-old now. They're very small. Can they fit adult teeth in there? That would be crazy. It'd just be like Cheshire Cat baby, all right? So it does definitely save space, right? So have small teeth at first. In fact, they don't have teeth. My baby still needs to grow them. But grow small teeth at first, and then you can replace them as your skull gets bigger. That's one reason. There's another big reason. And yeah, that's another big reason. But let's say that's reason number 2 of 3. Okay. This has to do with more with herbivores. Herbivores like deer, they're diphyodont. They have a second set of teeth. They run through them very quickly. So grinding up cellulose, which is the outside cell walls of plants, cellulose is extremely hard. It's fiber, right? So grinding that up every day for your entire life, those hypsodont teeth that are really high crown get worn down and down and down and down and down. What if they're worn down to the gums? They can't eat, they die. Just grow another pair of teeth. Done. For a little bit at least. So that's a huge benefit of diphyodont teeth. Even us, we wear down our teeth wear down. Humans are exception. It doesn't really matter for us. But as eutherians or say a pig or some other omnivore, even then it's beneficial to have a second pair of teeth. Yeah. Who has my deer jaw? Back over there. I can ID the age of that deer based on whether or not they lost the second molar. And in that case, it has, so that makes it, what, a 2 year? 2.5, yeah. So, yeah, around 2 years, they'll start losing teeth, probably a year before that. But they are going to lose it sequentially or in different times, right? That's a really cool thing about deer. You can age them by their teeth. That's one of the only things that works that way. All right.
So I'm sorry, they said that like if it wears down one like edge of a set of teeth, like 3 teeth, it's gonna know somehow to replace just those 3?
Not necessarily. That happens with some mammals, like an elephant. That happens with them, but it's usually just timed, right? So this year it happens to lose 1 teeth and gets regrown. Yep.
That's weird. I don't understand. Why do they have a first set of teeth only for 4 to 5 years?
Because they still, as a deer, the babies or the juveniles still need to chew on food, right? So they need to have those teeth really quickly, but they're small, and because they're small and they're weak, they start wearing down really quickly. So then they replace them. Okay? Right? Plants still break down second pair of teeth, right? So that deer that's probably replaced most of its teeth, those teeth are worn down as well. What can an herbivore do to avoid losing all of their teeth relatively quickly? Deer can live, I can age them up to 9 years using that method. They can live a little bit longer than that. What's going to stop them from essentially being gums only. Yeah, they'll stop eating and die. Yeah, but it has to do with that hypsodont dentition, that high crowned tooth. There's a heck of a lot more tooth extending out of the gums, right? So there's a lot more time that that tooth has before it's completely worn down, right? And then once that happens, it gets replaced at some point.
So deer have milk teeth too?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, what's cool is, say, one of our most herbivorous critters, the rodents, they have what's called open-rooted teeth, which means they consistently grow. That one tooth will grow throughout, well, and in this case, the 4 teeth will grow consistently throughout their lifetimes. So they'd never have to worry about losing their teeth. It just keeps growing.
Then I also have another question, because those milk teeth are also much softer,
Mhm.
and the second set is much harder.
Mhm.
That's why they can last 50 years.
Exactly. Now, I mentioned elephants. They will continuously grow teeth, and what happens is that they only have one molar exposed at a single time on one side of the jaw, right? Their lower jaw is essentially one gigantic molar. And we actually have an example of a mammoth molar in the science building. It's in the glass display case. It's just one gigantic molar. And that molar wears down and wears down and wears down until it's just a little bit, and then there's another molar growing behind it, and as it grows, it pushes out that smaller molar and becomes that new single molar in the jaw. And then that wears down, and another one grows and pushes it out. And that one wears down and pushes out and continues until they end up losing, I think they only have 6 molars total, so they can only replace it 6 times. But by that time, they're 45 years old, which is about the maximum that an elephant's going to live, right? So there's a variety of different ways that these herbivores can deal with losing their teeth. Make sense? Questions?
So those 6 are just sitting there in like miniature form?
Yep.
And when they get enough room to grow, they can start growing?
Yep. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about here, I think this is the last, is we have even more specialized teeth, or specialized jaws in this case. And each one of these specializations has to do with the types of food they eat. We have myrmecophagous individuals. That's a weird word. Anyone heard that word before? The spiny anteater. Where's my stuffy? Who's got my stuffy? Oh, it's right there. My echidna, that's myrmecophagous. It's ant eating. What kind of teeth does an anteater need? None. They just need a really long tongue. Here's a giant anteater skull. No teeth. Just a really long tongue. Right? So being myrmecophagous essentially means teeth become vestigial. You don't need them anymore. So why grow them? And eventually, you don't.
So it's not just eating animals that are myrmecophagous, there are other.
Yep. Well, there's termite eating, like aardvark and things like that. Although aardvarks do have some teeth. You can have piscivores or piscivory, which is fishies. Right? Here's my piscivorous individual. It goes back to the reptilian form of tooth, peg-like, needle-like teeth. And this is a dolphin. Right? Why would that be advantageous for fish eating? Yeah, I mean, you just need these needle-like teeth. They're not going anywhere. You don't need molars to grind them up. You just crap them and go, and get them down into your gullet. That's all you need, right? So think crocodiles, right? Same thing. Planktivores. Plankton. What eats plankton? Whales. You get baleen, which is actually just a really weird form of keratin. It's hair, right? It's not actually teeth, but it kind of serves the same purpose.
Oh, then I don't understand why a crocodile, if he eats fish, only needs one bite and he swallows this thing.
Yeah, so you just need one bite to trap the fish, and then you just... So whales don't. Whales are planktivores. They do, so this is the dolphin that has peg-like teeth, only eat fish. Planktivores, these are all hair, and they're almost like combs, comb-like teeth. So a whale will come up and they'll swallow a huge cloud of plankton, and then they'll also have a lot of water in there, and then they'll push that water out through the baleen, but the plankton can't get through. So it traps the plankton on the inside of the mouth, and then they take their gigantic tongue and just and lick it all off.
So it's like filtering.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way of filtering the water and the plankton out of the water.
There are whales with orcas have. Right?
Yep, and there are different types of whales. The largest whale with actual teeth is a sperm whale, right? Huge whale. Everything other than everything bigger than that is going to have baleen. Tusks, we kind of talked about those already. You got deer with tusks and pigs. The tusks in deer, and this is a musk deer, and pigs, the tusks are from canines. But they're incisors in elephants. Elephant tusks are incisors that come down and come out. And what the heck is that? Narwhal. The narwhal is actually two incisors, the tusk, two incisors that bust out of their top of the jaw and spiral around one another until it grows to 13 feet. Why? Why do that?
Exactly.
Right? Why? Well, really,
Do they know?
they used to not until like 2 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah, super cool. What do you guys think? The spike, yeah, it's a sword to defend. Okay. Yeah. So if it's display, that would suggest some sort of like sexual selection. So the males fight for the females, but the females have them too. Okay, so it's not that. Sensor reception? Say again? Oh, to feel around under the ice to maybe poke holes into it. They thought that, but it turns out that, what was the reason behind it? It just didn't work very well or something like that. And sensor reception, that's kind of it. It's actually the same function as a swordfish sword. Swim up to a fish and go, whack it. And then the fish are like, ugh, and then they just eat it. After like this long period of time, trying to figure out what the heck that's for, and they just hit fish with it.
Unceremonious.
Yeah. They actually only found that out when someone took a video and happened to see a narwhal hit a fish with it. Super cool, though. So now we're going to get into the diversity of mammals. So we're going to talk about some of the mammals, some of the mammal species, some of the mammal groups, but we will not get into all of them. There are 4,800. I can talk about them all, but I don't want to. Right? So we're only going to do some of them. Okay? So, first one, Monotremata. These are the egg-laying mammals. There's your echidna. There are, I think, up to 11 species of echidnas. They're all very endangered. Yeah. They're not, evolutionarily, they're not very good at what they do. Because of rodents, they are probably going extinct very quickly, at least some of the species. We have invasive rats throughout the world, and these rats will eat eggs and things like that. And so they are outcompeting the echidnas, and they are also eating their eggs, and the echidnas are going extinct. All right, this one is, I forget what the first, I don't remember the first word of the species name, but it's Attenborough is the second name, after David Attenborough, who does the Planet Earth narration and things like that. Super awesome guy. They're all terrestrial, meaning they're on the ground, they can't fly. But they can dig a little bit, but they're not going to burrow under the ground or anything like that. Eats ants and termites with its very long tongue. They have protective spines, as you see, but they do not roll up in a ball like a hedgehog. Right? They have those big football pad shoulder blades, right? So instead of doing that, what they do, and they're very good at this, is they dig depressions underneath their spines, dig really quickly, and then they kind of curl up a little bit, so the only thing coming out of that depression is spine. So if a predator actually wants to get at it, it's going to get ouched very quickly. And then you have the platypus, or the duck-billed platypus, which is aquatic, meaning it swims. It lives most of its life in the water. It can come out of the water. It actually digs holes, and that's where it dens, into the bank. That's where it dens. And it actually hunts in what we call turgid water, which means cloudy. It means it's not murky. It's not easily visible. And in that turgid water, it eats crustaceans, insect larvae that live in the benthos at the bottom, in the silt at the bottom of this very murky water. And while it does this hunting, it hunts with its eyes, ears, and nose closed. How does it hunt? It can't see, it can't hear, and it can't smell very well. They can use tactile, but they also have electromagnetic sense. They can feel electricity, right? The duck bill is used to detect an electromagnetic field. So does that mean insects are electric? They're magnetic? No. In fact, right now, as you move, you're emitting small pulses of electricity from your muscles. Its bill can sense those small movements in muscles, senses it, and grabs it. Right? Not many critters can do this. All sorts of fish can do it. They have something called a lateral line, which can sense electricity. Sharks can do it. Stingrays can do it. And so can platypi. Right? This is, I believe, a baby echidna. No, should be a baby platypus. But a baby echidna is called a puggle, which I just think is awesome.